Well, here we are. It's Thursday, the DPB show live coming to you from Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. So so I do appreciate all of you that join us here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And as I've shared with you before, we're doing this because we know that in Central Illinois, uh, which is where I'm from. Now, you might be listening from well beyond Central Illinois, but at least in this marketplace where I'm at in Central Illinois, we are in the crux of the land of make believe. And there's so few, there's limited sources of conservative content. In fact, that's somewhat of what we're going to talk about today. The coordination grows as does the desperation of the left. And there's so many examples of that. And I hope to be able to bring you a few of those things that I just keep uncovering. I don't know about you, but it fascinates me in modern media. There are so many alternative sources, what some people refer to as the parallel economy. This is also has the left, the Democrat Party, on the run, because no matter how much they try to lie to you and I, it's exposed. As I said on Tuesday, you know what? They've mastered the ability of destruction, death, theft, lying, and we're going to master the ability to expose them for who they are. That's all I want. I want them to be openly repentful of the destruction they've caused, the lies, the death. That's what the Bible says. The devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And that, when people say, "Oh, are you saying the Democrat Party is the devil?" Well, I guess if it acts like it smells like it, and it looks like it probably is, coming from an old Cheech and Chong episode. Hey, like I said, we've got a lot to talk about today. It's going to continue more in 2024, more good, more evil. It's not going to stop. We knew we were up against this. This whole terminology of rent a riot is coming into play. Now we're starting to understand what it takes to mobilize and fortify a atmosphere of disparity, and that means you only have to get about 10% of the population before a government usually concedes and goes against the will of the people. And that's fascinating, that even though the will of the people is a constitutional republic, a representative republic, or in the words of the Democrats, a democracy, it only takes a tenth of the people to mobilize and start uprising for there to be a caving of the government. That is fascinating. I am going to do my best today to make sure that I keep my eyes on you. And the reason I do that is I've got these two huge eyes looking at me. And it is a tendency for me. I'm so enthralled by what is happening, especially when I'm talking with Ryan on the screen or putting up something. I'm captivated by this. As I said, going from day to day in this modern world that we live in, with the access of alternative news sources, of the parallel economy, where we have so much happening so quickly. um I think my camera went away. Hold on. I must have hit that cord just right again. Start cam. There we are, and it's on the old cam. Don't worry, I think I turned off the other one. There we go. It'll come back. Don't worry. Don't you worry. I will be back. See, you get the back shot of the screen from my nose. Let me make sure that I've got it turned on. There we go. Um, but there's so many news sources out there, whether that be MRC research, RNC research, the Trump War Room, Charlie Kirk, Dan Bongino, Tucker Carlson. I mean, it's Susan Crabtree, Mike Benz. There are so many people involved now. Mike Davis at the Federalist. I mean, the list of conservative content providers is growing leaps and bounds. And what are they going to do about it? Well, that's what Ryan and I are going to discuss here today. Is here's what they're going to do about it. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, it's been crazy so far.
Are you getting anything done in your spare time when you've got this just this debacle of a convention going on in Chicago?
No, because unfortunately, I have to take in some of it to be able to talk about it. But I cannot wrap my mind about the difference between the messages of 2 weeks. You have this positive rallying cry from the RNC, and you had this weird like freedom twist and the lies coming out of Trump's, camp from the DNC. It's just it's not organized, and it's a bunch of weird feelings. The DNC, the speakers, that they're not real. I don't know. It's hard to put in words.
They're fake.
Weeks.
It's fake.
Yeah.
They come across.
Really is
they're not coming across authentic, and everything about what they're saying can be quickly fact checked. I will say this: the left, the progressive Marxist Bolsheviks on the left, have taught us how to fact check, because that was their big thing, fact checking. And whenever you saw fact check on something that the conservative movement was putting out, you usually knew if they're fact checking, it was absolutely true. Therefore, they wouldn't be fact checking. But for us, we can use the fact check, because the best evidence to use against an argument is the person who is lying, if they have in turn said something to the contrary. And we're going to show you a little bit about that today. These folks, they constantly contradict themselves. They used to call it the old Bill Clinton flip-flop, that Bill Clinton was a flip-flopper.
Yep, the old dipsy-do flipperoo.
Yeah, that they change their position based on the audience they're speaking in front of. And right now, the audience they're speaking in front of, it, mind you, is the hardcore Democrat. They are leaking, they are bleeding profusely members, voters from the Democrat Party in all demographics. You name it, they're losing it. They're the ones who play identity politics, but they are losing leaps and bounds. And what they're going to try to do to shut that off is what we're going to open up the show with today. And I'm going to add him to the stage right now, and I'm going to play this video, because this is pretty amazing. That this is Mike Benz, and I'm going to set this up. Mike is talking about something called media literacy and media sustainability, and it's happening right now. In 11 states have put this in place, and I'm going to go ahead and play this video for you right now. If I can get it to load. Yep, it's loaded. And
Mike, I want to walk through, there's an interesting synergy, I think, between this story and the news breaking today that lawmakers out in California are wanting to give hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars to basically create, we always say it's state-sponsored propaganda, but this is blatantly state-subsidized media. But can you kind of walk us through how I would argue this is sort of the logical extension, if not conclusion, of this broader mindset where it's not just media literacy, it's straight up the media?
It's actually a sister branch of it. So media literacy has a sister branch called media sustainability. And let me put this all together, okay? So media literacy is about control over the kinds of news that you can access on the internet and in the classroom. Media sustainability is about rigging the economics of the news industry in order to prop up the revenues of faltering regime media assets that are becoming uncompetitive. And so there's a two-prong attack that they've been seeking now for 8 years, and we are now well into the maturity of this plan. Literally, these people all got together in a room. I've posted videos of this on my X account. I do weekly subscriber lectures on this exact topic, where I go through these meetings these people had in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. And the strategy is to bankrupt alternative news producers and to government subsidize pro-government media news producers.
So when you look at that, and I know that was a lot to take in.
Where have we seen that before being done? Oh, that's right. Communist countries.
That's right. So this is Pravda. I knew I could get that out, but this is what they do. So when it comes to the content, and this is pretty amazing because this this is going to continue to walk itself out. As I got a screen that opened up that I didn't want to open up, but this is going to continue to walk itself out uh, in all of the states in the United States, and one in particularly. This is kind of interesting. You let's see if I can get it to load here. Yes, I am. I got too many tabs open, Ryan. But this is pretty fascinating. Right there on the screen, media literacy, because it's always a warm and fuzzy, because everybody wants to be literate in
Yeah, sure.
media.
Yeah.
Public Act 102-0055. Public Act, Illinois State Board of Education, Public Act 102-0055 amends the Illinois School Code to ensure that students in every public high school in Illinois develop 21st century skills for inquiry and critical thinking to better navigate the current information landscape. Beginning with the 22-23 school year, every public high school shall include in its curriculum a unit of instruction on media literacy, including instruction on how to access information, analyze and evaluate media messages, critique media, fact check, reflect the media consumption, as well as the social responsibility
Mhm.
of engaging with the media of all forms, including you and me. It says over to the right, what is media literacy? Media literacy is the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and communicate using a variety of objective forms,
Objective.
including
Yeah.
but not limited to print, visual, audio, interactive, and digital texts. Media literacy expands on traditional literacy skills, reading, writing, speaking, and listening to, including skills needed to consume media in the 21st century. So basically, at the end of the day, is that you conspiracy theorists need to stop trying to influence people's minds. We are going to take charge of all of our K through 12 schools and teaching them, not that they're not already doing that. In the
Mhm.
public school system, you're not going to find Dan Bongino. You're not going to find
No.
Fox News. In
No.
fact, in some high schools, I don't know if we want to play Dan Bongino. At least the podcast version of Dan. The radio version is
Yeah.
very clean. Dan is cleaning it up. I think he's getting a handle on his language. Dan is
Want
very
to
careful.
take a bet on how many weeks they dissect Rumble and the alternative media in classes? I wonder
Well,
what their curriculum actually looks like in high
Well,
schools.
and that's the thing. They're not going to deal with any alternative source, what I call the parallel economy.
Mhm.
They're not going to deal with anything that isn't mainstream. We put up that graphic the other day about the coverage of Kamala, the
Yeah.
the positive coverage versus the negative coverage of Trump.
Mhm.
89% of the media on the top three, ABC, CBS, and NBC, 89% was negative against Trump. 84% was positive for Kamala. I mean, it just is mind-boggling as it continues to walk itself out that this is where we're at, and this is
Yeah,
where we're going to be.
there is no more conservative mainstream media. Fox has taken a turn. There are conservative hosts still that are on there, but the majority of the coverage has slanted left. And so where do you go for your source if you are a conservative? X? You got to decipher what's true and what's not on X also, because there's millions of people that use that post all kinds of fake things. So where's the source that you can get both sides of an opinion or of the story? You can't. You have conservative media alternatives like Rumble. You have Town Hall. You've got Red State, and OAN, and you got Right Side Broadcasting Networks. And then you got the hard left, the what used to be just news reporting. Fox, ABC, CBS, MSNBC. That's it, and they don't share. Hey, this is what happened in your town today. what do you guys think? That they don't give us the information. They just tell us what their side of the story is anymore. That's where we're at.
Well, and it's interesting because my wife and I were talking about this either was this morning or yesterday. This collaborated effort by all of the media who is bought and paid for by the Democratic Socialist of America. The DNC is got them
The
in
George
their
Soros buying up all the
That's right.
conservative radio networks. This is where it's at. They're
Which gets back
conglomerating.
to Rent a Riot. It's no
Yeah.
different than the Rent a Riot, which is the part we're going to get into here next,
Yep.
because this is fascinating. Because I want to bring I want to bring you documented proof that things are moving this way. It's so hard. Sometimes this stuff is really complex, and I don't pretend like I have all the answers, because at times I am like you. I feel like I just dove into a pool and I'm about 6 foot underwater, and you're trying to get up to the top to get a breath of fresh air before you have to, go back under. And this is what I'm feeling. I know that if I'm feeling it, most people are feeling it, because I don't consider myself the sophisticated guru of all things that are happening around the world. But this is intentionally woven to be deceptive in how they produce their content, their collaboration. My wife and I were talking about this joy. Everything's joy, joy and hope, hope and joy. Hope and change. That was Obama. Now it's joy and hope. Let's be joyful. Oh, Kamala, she's so joyful. And then the newscasters and all the outlets pick it up, and it's joy, 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 joy down in my heart. But it isn't the biblical joy that we're used to. It's a manufactured joy. Ha ha ha, with the cackling one bringing the joy, right?
Yep.
And it's just not joy, but you have to go back to and they're out there, and look at YouTube or Rumble. When news sources, syndicated news sources, put out a message line, their pundits will mockingbird. That's why they call it the mockingbird media. They will mock whatever is put out. I remember when bombshell breakthrough.
Yeah.
Everything was a bombshell. And every news source hit upon that. They all have the same talking points. And is it just reporting the news releases or the press releases? No, it's creating the news. What was that show that dealt with wag the tail, or wag the dog, wag the tail? And that's what it is they're trying to create the news rather than report the news. They are manipulating the news rather than reporting. And with that, here's a prime example. And this is a little longer video, but this is going to be the crux of a lot of what we talk about. I've got other little short clips. Ryan, you probably have got some stuff. Yep. But this one is exceptional because Mike Benz is also going to be part of this compilation of, it's a clip from Dan Bongino. And it's a little long, and once again, I'm not here to have you listen to me. I'm here to hopefully bring out people who are doing it right. My wife just mentioned Joy Reid, the New York Times, Vanity Fair, Salon, Washington Post, Rolling Stone, Associated Press, The Guardian, the NPR, and all using the word joy when referring to the Harris campaign. They don't use joy, or they won't even talk about the assassination attempt of Trump.
Yeah, there's more coming about that too. There's more information bleeding out from that. But yeah, that's the media twist. The tale of two headlines. That's what we always see.
Okay, well, here it is. Bongino at his best. And this is a little long, and I'm going to break it up, and we're going to talk about this. But this is getting into the collaboration of working together, of mastering all of the, when you talk about mobilizing an effort to kill, steal, and destroy, the Democrats are masters at it.
Yeah.
That's why we have to become masters at exposing this.
When they sense the writing on the wall that they are not gaining steam, this is their next march.
All right, here it goes.
Folks, they are not going to peacefully step aside if they lose in November. There is absolutely zero chance. Do you remember the Time magazine article? I'm going to get to it in a few minutes. So Justin's like, wait, that's There was a Time magazine article put out after they stole the 2020 election where they actually bragged about how they did it. How they did it with unions, with workers, with people on the street. I'm not knocking unions, but I'm just saying, like, you'll see in the article, they actually talk about it. Corporations, how they all got together with the deep state to steal it from Donald Trump. Keep that blob of people in your head as you listen to cut one of Mike Benz talking about how the Democrats around the world, liberals, and even swampy Republicans in the blob, use these rent-a-race riots all around the world to cause chaos. They're getting ready for one right now. That's why he keeps promoting the Fine People hoax. Here's part one of Ben's. Check this out.
I recently did a lecture. Actually, for the past 2 weeks, I've been doing these long streams going through the use of racial rent-a-riots by our foreign policy establishment very deliberately in order to force political outcomes around the world. And I've been going through CIA operations manuals, through special forces, Spectus documents, to show the very strange similarity between the politically motivated racial rent-a-riots orchestrated by our intelligence services and what happened in Minneapolis in the summer of 2020.
Folks, this is not new. Intelligence operatives, deep state blobsters, State Department folks, international bureaucrats, globalists, NGOs, organized labor. I'm not talking about the workers on the ground. You'll see what I mean in a second, in case you think I'm just throwing this.
You know, I think that's important and a great place to interject here. And I want to get back to this. But I said this on Tuesday, and yes, I get a lot of my content from Dan and Charlie Kirk and Jack Posobiec and, Tucker Carlson. As I said, I'm not an expert at any of this stuff. I want to become an expert because I think it's critical to the future of our country, the future of my children and grandchildren. I know many of you are concerned about this. But we are beginning to realize what Mike Benz refers to as the blob. For a long time, we were calling the deep state. In fact, Dan Bongino wrote a book about the deep state, Spygate, and everything else. And the players behind it, we are definitely, and I understand, people sold out their souls to the devil. If you're making a huge salary working for an NGO or a government body, or you're on the inside of these corporations where you're double dealing with the governments and moving, you name it, they're moving it. Unfortunately, in some cases, they're moving humans through human trafficking, which is a whole nother show. But all of this is intermingled. It's interwoven. It's all about kill, steal, and destroy, because somebody has to rule over the peasants, right? The people they've manipulated. And Dan bringing this up, this rent-a-riot, I remember when they were positioning bricks, pallets of bricks in different localities. It was paid for. It was orchestrated. These are no-show jobs, as they refer to them. Do you know a no-show job? Wouldn't we all like a no-show job?
Yeah.
Here, Ryan and I, we're not getting paid to be here with you today.
Nope. Because
what we're here today to share with you is so much bigger than monetizing anything. Is it our goal to try to monetize what we do here in front of the camera? I guess that would be nice, but that's not our ultimate goal. Our number one goal is to inform people, about media literacy, where they're trying to control people. Race rent-a-riots or racial rent-a-riots or rent-a-riots. This is the stuff that is so important. The UAW president, now think about this. The UAW president, one of the largest unions out there, had the audacity to take the stage the other night at the DNC and say that it's a manufactured crisis at the border, still repeating something we've heard for years now, right? This is what they were saying coming out of the 2020 election. That the Republicans, the conservative movement, are manufacturing the crisis at the border. He said there's not really victims. There's not all these criminals. Now they're they're condemning Trump because all he ever says is he talks about these people as they're evil. Well,
Mhm.
I get it. Not everyone coming across the southern border is a criminal. Unfortunately, enough of them that are coming across the border are, and there are criminals from all walks of life, from all areas of the world, and they're entering unencumbered by they're just entering unencumbered by anything that we put down there, because there isn't the sufficient resources to shut down, to close off the border. And if you don't have the backing of the executive branch of our government, and then obviously all the branches below the executive branch, the
Mhm.
chances are you're not going to shut that down. Whether the border czar believes that she is the border czar, she was, flagged as the person who was going to control it. But
Yeah.
anyhow, let's get back to Bongino, because I think this is so critical.
They actually bragged about it. Talking about the management there. Street muscle. They know how to do these rent-a-racial riot mobs. There's a reason, although Biden has been discredited by Snopes. Do you have any idea how left-wing Snopes is? It's Snopes, in case you don't know, it's like the slope of a line with an end, Snopes. Snopes is an outright communist site. That's how leftist they are. Even they debunked the Trump called these white supremacists fine people. He did not. He actually explicitly condemned them. So why does Biden keep saying it? Because they're getting ready for these racial rent-a riots in this November thing. And by the way, to any of these lefty scumbags out there who want to write conspiracy theory, Dan Bongino, the left is going to riot. What's our record on conspiracy theories, Justin? It is absolutely, are you risking you're not risking, you don't have a reputation, but to the Dan Arkins of the world, who are like, Dan Bongino's a conspiracy theorist saying Trump's in danger. And then he got shot in the head. Dan Arkin, still no apology. I'm warning you, you write that piece, you go ahead and do it. Knock yourself out. Nobody cares about what you say anyway. You are going to be the subject of my show.
I love it. And see, this is what I'm talking about, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
He puts them on notice. It's what JD Vance is doing, basically just saying, Buttigieg, I'm glad you're upset with what I said.
Yeah.
When are you going to start being upset for issues like what is happening in our transportation department, what is happening in the global economy, what's happening in each household that goes to try to purchase groceries or to afford to have health insurance, or any of the other plethora of things that Americans have to deal with every day? When are we going to be upset about that? Instead, we're going to be upset about the fact that JD Vance has a belief system that he believes, through his upbringing, his Judeo-Christian principles, that is the best way to grow in America is through a nuclear family, a family where there is a mother and a father and children. And that's what he's condemned for. Pete, that's what you're condemning him for. I mean, this is what, like I said, the coordination grows, as does the desperation of the left. And this is why we're going to have these riots. So we have to be prepared. Dan's going to tell us what I think we should be doing in order to prepare for this.
When what I'm telling you is going to happen happens if he wins. Guaranteed. These rent-a-riot mobs, the Democrats know exactly what they're doing. Here's part 2, where Benz describes exactly how the racial rent-a-riots are done not only here, but are done around the world in conjunction with the deep state. And then when I show you the Time article next, organized labor, CEOs, corporate America, the blob, you're going to be like, wow, did that happen here in 2020? Check out part 2.
Yep.
a
I
capacity
love
build
moving.
connections into the African workers who are working for Chinese companies, who are working in the African government transportation sector, who are working, in all the different trades, and they quote inflame tensions against the Chinese in order to have the Africans cut off their labor force. They, in the hypothetical, they brag about how they got 60% of Chinese businesses, the labor force, to leave, and they did this using U.S. taxpayers' money. Actually, they ended up bribing, in this hypothetical, the rioting workers in Africa with USAID job fairs, giving them no-show jobs, basically paying them to take to the streets and riot. And then essentially the State Department goes back to so you can see how this all works together. You have the intelligence services, you have the military, you have USAID, and you have the State Department. The State Department ends up going back to the African government, and the African government, basically to get the riots to stop and to bring peace back, they end up acquiescing and canceling the port deal. This is
Government, NGOs, corporations in Africa working together to stoke racial hatred to get some political goal. Sound familiar? Political goal. Stop Donald Trump. Corporations, organized labor, the blob, the deep state. Oh shit, that happened here. And they even wrote about it. Time Magazine, Molly Ball, The Secret History of the Shadow Campaign That Saved the 2020 Election. I've never seen this before. I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Justin's like, we've cut this thing so many times that he doesn't even need to cut it anymore. Let me just read to you how the Democrats, after they stole 2020, actually went and bragged about what they did with the blob.
Okay, so that's February 4th of 2021, Time Magazine. The article is done by Molly Ball. I went and read this article. You too should go out and look for this article.
Yeah.
It usually pops up because if you just put Time Magazine Molly Ball, they are more than willing to have you read Time Magazine Molly Ball. So that's something that they're not going to hide, like the assassination attempt of President Donald J. Trump. But the secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. All right, let it roll.
Quote, meaning they actually wrote this. This is not a Dan Bongino conspiracy theory. They actually wrote about it and bragged about it. Quote, there was a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes, one that both curtailed the protests and coordinated the resistance from CEOs, resistance to Trump. Both surprises were the result of an informal alliance between left-wing activists and business titans. Sound familiar? The pact was formalized in a terse little notice joint statement of the Chamber of Commerce and AFL-CIO published on Election Day. Chamber of Commerce and the AFL-CIO and unions, aren't they supposed to be enemies? Both sides would come to see it as sort of an implicit bargain inspired by the summer's massive, destructive racial justice protests. In which the forces of labor came together with the forces of capital to keep the peace and oppose Trump's assault on democracy. That was a clip from the Dan Bongino.
Yeah. So I got something, there's not a video, but I'm just going to explain briefly what this goes into. So the Mike Benz discussion about that, there's a CIA run-a-riot manual from 1983, declassified in 2017. He's got a video and it's about 20 minutes long. It's on his Twitter on X page, and Mike Benz Cyber from August 18th. It teaches
Mike Benz Cyber.
Mike Benz Cyber.
We'll put that up in the chat.
And I pulled it up just to kind of see. You search in the chat, run a riot, and there's all kinds of articles and videos on it. But there was a CIA done document, declassified, and he talks about it. Teaches the CIA officers how to organize street riots, turn them violent, and manipulate them against the civilian populace to back the rioters' cause. And as he explained there in Dan's video, follow the two Mikes, Mike Benz, follow Deep State, and Mike Davis at MRDDMIA. Mike Davis is also really good.
Federalist, Federalist Magazine.
For all things lawfare. Yeah. So there's an actual document, CIA document that's been declassified about run riots, that they're teaching uprisings. We've seen this in other countries. We've seen this in Venezuela and Brazil.
But when it was actually ongoing, and think about this, that article was from 2021, February 4th. When we saw that, even in your locality, here we live in central Illinois, and we saw the rioting, the rent riots happening here, where they mobilized people, coordinated the efforts. You never talk to these people because, once again, these aren't conversations we're having these aren't people who we know. These aren't people who we influence. And it's unfortunate, right? We hope to be influencing. And I think it's changing when you start seeing the men on the street, uh, like Charlie Kirk up in the DNC and William J. Kelly, who we were hopeful would join us today. He has not popped in yet, but we're early into the show. We still have got 26 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
But these men on the streets are going and talking to the real people. Once again, not the sophisticated people, not the complex people. And there is a movement that is transpiring in this country. And I believe that to be the case. I heard Trump talk about this last week, and he had mentioned that about 75% of the country is behind Make America Great Again. And I believe that's the case. I truly do. I believe that's amongst independents, Democrats, whites, blacks, Hispanics, yellows, pinks, blues, and what other color, people in the LGBTQ community. There are people. Let me give you an example of that. If you want to see another great video, it was just released this past week by Brandon Strzok. I had the fortunate pleasure of being with him at one of the pushbacks against the masking and vaccine of our kids down in Springfield. He has started the walk away, hashtag walk away. He has a video out there, which we could do a whole show. In fact, next week we might just do that because he has reinvented himself. He had to. He was caught up in the weaponizing of the federal government. The FBI went after Brandon Strzok. They tried to deplatform him. They tried to do all of the things that we just heard about through the strategies. And this is ongoing. If you get loud enough and you get big enough, it can happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Look, my story being on the radio. I didn't even have an inkling of what happened to Brandon. Brandon was literally put in jail for being at the Capitol on J6. Brandon Strzok is very well known as a journalist, or not a journalist, but someone who is in the press. I'm not going to call him a journalist because I know that sometimes that's a nasty name to call people who are activists. And Brandon's doing the good work. Once again, another movement that they can't control. This is a person who walked away from the Democrat Party and is encouraging everyone else because he was lied to. Now, as I said, why I bring up Brandon's name is he was someone who is part of the LGBTQIA community.
Mm-hmm.
And this is happening. We know it's happening. Hearts are being changed. Eyes are being opened. People are being transformed. And, I get it. It's important to pray. Wake up, pray up, seek out our Heavenly Father, and especially the Lord of our lives. And you can do a simple Our Father every day. If that's all the time you have, that's the perfect prayer. Jesus taught us how to pray. Pray an Our Father. But it calls down God to protect, to look over us. Our Father, who art in heaven. We need those prayers, but we also need to mobilize. As the Dems are mobilizing in all of these different strategies they have, and that's the thing, when somebody says, well, show me how the Democrats were fraudulent or stole the election. Dan Bongino just said it. They stole the election. They stole the election.
Yep.
It was not just one thing. It wasn't the Dominion machines. Now, I will say the electronic machines did open a portal for them to flip votes, but they had to have it close enough. Right now, that's what they need. There was no way they could get close enough with Joe Biden.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't make it work. They have to get the polls, even if they've screwed up so bad that they're not going to win. They have to make it appear close enough so that when they can explain what went wrong or explain how they stole it, say, "Hey, wait, we were that close within the margin of error. This is what happens. Free and fair elections." I don't believe the polls for 1 minute. I also don't believe they estimate the amount of support Trump really has. He was underestimated in 2016 and 2020. 2016 down the stretch, he was down 10 points, and he beat her by almost as much. In 2020, it was close then. That's how they do it. They make it appear closer than it needs to be so that they can explain how they stole it. See? Within the margin of error.
Well, and they're going to pull out once again. Coordination grows, as the show's entitled today. Coordination grows, as does the desperation of the left. They are going to continue to be desperate. In fact, they are so desperate at times that they're almost silly with their desperation. And here's an example of it. And we know that the debate between Trump and Biden on June 27th was Dana Bash, the moderator, with Jack Tapper. And I got Dana Bash at the DNC the other night, and this is the nonsense. This is what they're spewing, because how are they ever going to, they can't run a campaign based on the real issues. So this is what they're running their campaign on. And I'm going to have to back up this video a little bit in order to get started over. But here we go.
But they are doing so in trying to put forward male figures, Tim Walz being one of them, Doug Emhoff last night, who can speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to
fathers
Hulk
of children
Hogan and
Hulk
the kind
Hogan,
of
watch
players
football.
that came out at the RNC, or might want to listen to that, but also, in addition, understand that it's okay in 2024 to be a man comfortable in his own skin who supports a woman. And that's
so that's what it's about, Dana. A man who supports a woman. I think all men who are married, and not necessarily married, maybe in a relationship, all young boys should be respectful, should be, especially of their mothers. They should honor their mothers. Young boys should be respectful of girls. They should not try to gain access to girls' bathrooms. Oh, I'm sorry. That's another topic. But they should be respectful. They should treat young girls and women with respect. That's what we're supposed to do. It's kind of interesting that she's bringing this up now, that suddenly that if you're a man, if you're a manly man, what is it called? What's the term they use? You know what I'm talking
Toxic masculinity.
If you're one of toxic masculinity, for some reason, you can't be respectful and supportive of women. No, I think that you guys have got it backwards of supporting women.
Yeah.
How are you supporting women if you're allowing men to participate in women's sports?
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. I think she was done. If she's not
something
done,
that they really are trying to work on with male voters beyond the base. But
so they know that their voting base is about 48% men. And what is the makeup of men within the Democrat Party? I don't know exactly the demographic breakdown and all the different, because there's only about 55,000 genders. So who knows?
Yeah.
And what is a man? Because they can't define what a woman is. So now we have to define what a man is. But I think Dana was trying to hit upon something of defining a man, which gets back to they are so desperate. They are looking to slice and splice and get men back. They're looking to have, well, as I said earlier, they are losing voters at such a high rate. The man on the street with Charlie Kirk or Jack Posobiec or William J. Kelly, they are losing voters at an alarming rate, and they know it. And it's interesting because I didn't pull the clip up. I could go grab it. But James Carville.
Yeah, I got it up.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, because I was messaging him and seeing if he's coming on. He's busy right now filming the protesters still, and I'm going to share some of his videos in this next kind of little break we got.
Oh,
So,
from
yeah.
Carville or from
I got an interview with Carville, and I've got all kinds of other stuff
Okay.
that he wants to share just because of what's going on up there.
I thought
So
you said we
there's-
were going to have James Carville coming on. I was like,
No,
golly, Ryan,
no,
you
we'll-
really struck it.
I know,
big.
right? So William J. Kelly, most of you don't know, he's on Kat's show in the morning when she was on before. He is a well-known Chicago reporter. He got his credentials taken away by Lori Lightfoot simply for asking questions, tough questions. He's fighting her for that still. But he is up in the DNC this week covering most of the protesters. He's filming it. But this week he's talking with James Carville, Democrat strategist, and he is asking him questions about, I think, protecting
So
the
William J. Kelly,
streetgoers. Yeah.
William J. Kelly actually was able to get in touch with James Carville at the convention.
Yes.
Wow. That's you talk
So
about blending.
it's
things.
about 4 minutes long, but we'll just play a little bit of it just to kind of get a sense. But basically, the gist is he is pissed that William J. Kelly dare even ask him a question about massive security fencing.
You go,
and
what
police force.
are you asking me about?
Yeah. So he was really mad that William came up to him and
he's
asked
getting
him about
old, man. I can't.
protection.
We have security for the DNC,
Oh,
but
make that
80
screen
Chicagoans are shot
I
every
don't know what
weekend.
you're talking about.
Why don't we have
What you
security
talking
for
about?
regular
Crime rate
Chicagoans?
down so much in Chicago.
why is the crime rate down in Chicago?
Michigan Avenue.
Look at those fences and
That's high tech.
hydraulic ramps. Boy, you can secure Chicago, but you can't secure the southern border.
Yeah. So there's William J. Kelly walking now.
I love the fact I was just pulling up Carville because Carville did the whole thing on the Democrats have to get away from the feminizing everything. Sometimes guys just want to go out and hunt and watch some football.
Yep.
James, can we do a quick interview with you, brother? You've already been doing interviews all day. James Carville, everybody. Oh, he said over there. Let's do it. So talk to me. What are you expecting?
I think it'll be a good night.
What do you think? What do you make of all of this security fencing?
Well, I mean, people have to be cautious in this day and age. What can I say?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Well, I'm not 100% sure walking in the street is the best idea either.
We're committed to it, so.
That's a good point.
Wow.
So as long as I'm
Impressive.
with you, I can walk past the historic water tower.
I love Warren College. Wasn't that one of the few things that survived the Great Fire? This is my son-in-law from Chicago. So.
Don't you feel a little sad that it's walled off like this?
United States Marine Corps.
I would
hat.
rather everything be open. I'd rather we didn't have goofy, criminalized, stupid people in the world, and we could all go about our business.
Yeah, you're
like we
right.
do, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
that's
golly,
such is
James,
not
you
the
sound more
world.
like a Republican.
City, parties, I'm sure they had to make some choices, and I'm a citizen, and I got to respect their choices.
A Democrat judge said that Democrat protesters couldn't get too close to the DNC to protest the Democratic ticket. What is the common denominator here?
Well, people have a right to protest. They don't have a right to interrupt. The people in charge of the convention have a security interest, and I don't know what you're complaining about. You got a beautiful city, you're having a beautiful convention, you have beautiful weather, and you're complaining.
Well,
what the hell's wrong with you,
well,
man?
I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and I
My
can tell
wife
you.
was from 125th and Commercial.
Well,
I
okay,
can
well,
tell you that this is a great city.
well, here's
and
the problem.
I don't
Here's
know what
what.
you're bitching about.
Here's the problem.
It's a great city. What are you bitching about?
That's
Old
classic.
James. Yeah. So,
I mean,
and
the
then
fact that
there's
he got- Go ahead.
yeah. So yeah, that was most of that interview. Just it was kind of funny that he got James to kind of be just a blunt about his thoughts. But there's some other videos that there's a lot of going on. When I talked to you about when you were up at the RNC, a couple of those instances outside where they had people arrested and one person shot because they were getting crazy.
Yeah.
This is on steroids.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh.
gonna let a couple of these clips play that he's got. This was
Okay.
from a couple days ago. He's got them cycled in here. I'm just gonna screen share again.
Okay.
And it is an absolute zoo outside of the DNC. So there's this one. I don't know if I can play these. Oh, there we go.
Wow. Didn't see that up in Milwaukee, did you?
No.
I mean,
There's this one.
I didn't see anything like that in Milwaukee. In fact, it was pretty docile.
And these are leftist protesters. These aren't like just Republicans up there.
Yeah.
These are violent leftist agitators from probably the pro-Hamas crowd.
Well, I'd say from the Ren Riot. This is the Ren Riot people.
Yep. And then there's this one. These are Palestinian supporters, the Hamas. Yeah, there's language. But
Kill the Jew crowd.
yeah, so kill the Jew crowd. There's burning the flag and all that stuff. So yeah, he's been covering all that.
I love the fact he got James Carville.
Yeah, that's
classic.
pretty good.
I'm going to try finding that Charlie Kirk, because Kat said that he was with Charlie Kirk. I'm convinced obesity contributes to low T. Kat in the comment section. Kat back in the comment section. She says that she gets on the treadmill and when she's watching the DPB show, and rather than being a guest on the DPB show, she would rather just be in the comment section.
Yep. Yeah.
Anything else?
So there's
got one.
Most of the protesters. That's where he's covering. So he's gonna kick in with us next week after all this mess, and then kind of chat. So
well, yeah, and we're gonna try to get, because I understand taking time away from. I was steeped in it in the RNC. It was hard to break away and do the DPB show because there were so many pieces moving.
Yeah,
and once again, we all can see, we can compare and contrast the RNC and the DNC. The RNC was just, of course, after the debacle of the first debate, which led to Joe Biden's exit, removal. No exit was involved. It was not Joe's decision. It was a coup d'etat to take over the nominee for the presidential race in 2024. And
well, and we talked about earlier, and you were there. How many speakers and how many stories, and it was very well orchestrated throughout the entire event. They had music playing, they had the bands covering in between speakers. I mean, it was constant entertainment. When somebody wasn't speaking, you were listening to good music by a cover band, and then they had performances. You had Kid Rock play a rendition of his song "American Badass." You had Jason Aldean in the crowd. You had Hulk Hogan on stage just jacking up the crowd. The stories of the real Americans. I mean, the actors they're portraying these videos, some of their speakers aren't even live. They're playing AI videos of the DNC. And who they have there is Oprah, the Obamas, Bernie Sanders, and other speckling of high, very elite Democrat people and well-known and well-famous and billionaires. J.B. Pritzker spoke and about, I'm a real billionaire. Trump's not a real billionaire. This is the kind of people. We're for the people, but you have billionaire after billionaire speaking on stage telling you, we know what's best for you than you.
Well, and that's the thing. I wanted to actually get to Pritzker's speech, and I was just looking to pull it up where there's a good clip. I don't know. This one's at the DNC. Let's see if I can get it moved around here. It said watch on CBS. Okay, watch on CBS, whatever it takes. That sure doesn't look like the video, but I want to cover a little bit about the Pritzker video. Maybe I can get it to load, maybe I can't. But Pritzker talking at great length about how wonderful everything is. This seems to be the theme. As I said, coordination grows, as does the desperation of the left. James Carville, like him or don't like him. I mean, he married a Republican woman. So can you imagine what their household's like? He supports the military. James Carville is a good old Democrat from the South. Mm-hmm. He's going to be honest. and he's going to get a little angry and he's going to get a little testy. But I would rather have that than the lie. And he can't stand Trump, but it's pretty impressive. Thank you. It looks like you.
Yep.
You
I think
pulled it
there's
up.
about 24 seconds, and I think this is the one where he's talking about mocking Trump's business acumen.
We should trust him on the economy because he claims to be very rich. But take it from an actual billionaire.
The one that the family doesn't want to have near their business. You mean the trust fund baby?
Trump is rich in only one thing:
stupidity. What a blabbering idiot.
That was a burn, JB, because everybody knows, JB, that the family fortune was never made by JB Pritzker. JB, your family doesn't want you involved in the business. That they wanted you to go away. And what his wealth has allowed him to do is to put $300 million into the coffers of the Democrat Party here in Illinois. Specifically, the teachers' unions are a lot of them. And once again, no slap on teachers. You know the story. My wife, 35 years teaching. Ryan's an educator. I dabbled in education a little bit. It's not about the teachers, it's about the unions.
It's like the
union leadership, like the UAW president. How that guy who can't read a newspaper has the audacity to say that it's a manufactured crisis, especially these families who have lost loved ones to criminals who have come across the border illegally. But JB Pritzker, isn't that classic?
How many toilets did he
a real
take out of this
billionaire? No,
property?
you're not a real billionaire. Donald Trump, I'm pretty sure, made his millions or billions. And I know that his sons have been tasked with running the business. He's just not going to let them go off into the sweet good night and just give them money because, JB, they don't allow you to run anything in the business. But his money, as I started to say, the $300 million has afforded him the ability to put a lot of money into Illinois politics. He tried to buy the Senate seat that Barack Obama eventually ended up in. So I don't know where Barack and JB are. They probably don't like each other like Biden and Barack don't like each other, even though Obama will stand up on a stage and say that he loves Biden, but that's just not the case. They removed the guy from office, but JB has the wealth to turn the state of Illinois, the land of Lincoln, the land of the home and the free, the land of the brave, into a despot of inhumanity. And he doesn't care about anybody in that arena. And the fact that he would even continue to speak of Trump, he's called Trump a racist, a xenophobic, white supremacist. I'm sure
it's like what we talked about before. They can't insult or critique somebody's policy differences. They continue to throw insults personally at people. Instead of say, hey, he did this for the country that we didn't agree with, he calls them stupid.
Well, here's a little snippet, and it literally is 8 seconds, but this should tell you everything you need to know.
It's all Trump's fault
as it plays through. This is what
the border is closed. The border is secure.
The border is secure.
The only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump.
The border is closed. The border is secure.
The border is secure.
The only reason the border is not secure is Donald.
Oh. You've been in office for 3.5 years, Joe. It's your fault.
Well, and this is like Pritzker. You've been in there for 2 terms. How's the state of Illinois? And believe me, this is something my wife and I talk about. Listen to JB Pritzker, how he flip-flops, because he will tell you the economy's never been better. But you look at the companies that have left, and she provided me a list of those different companies, and she might have put it already in the comment section, but it's just not the Caterpillars. I mean, the biggest companies have left Illinois. They gave Trump such a hard time when he reduced the corporate tax and how many companies wanted to return to the United States. Well, when companies don't feel like your state is friendly to their corporations or their businesses,
they're going to invest elsewhere.
They vote with their feet.
even mega billionaire Elon Musk had enough of California politics and tax policies. He didn't need to leave California, but he did it because it had a more tax-friendly environment in Texas. He's moving every one of his companies he owns to Texas. That's saying something.
You know, I was just looking through. I mean, and all of this dates back to 2021. You know, I heard something that was interesting. Kamala is running for a position where she created a problem, and now she wants to be the solution to the problem that
Yes.
was created by her.
Yes.
Doesn't
Hey,
that
day one, I will bring down lower prices. Do it
doesn't
now.
doesn't that seem to be the theme? And I think this is why normal, ordinary people that back the blue, that wear the Team Blue Line shirt, thanks to David Quinn and many others out there supporting, backing the blue. My son-in-law is a Metro PD in Nashville. Therefore, that's the reason that Team Blue Line, because my heart is with the law enforcement. And I know that they're trying to be manipulated by the Democrat Party. They're not
Yep.
having anything to do with it. Those people are pro-Trump. Every now and then they'll find an extraneous example, like this sheriff that took the stage the other night from a border, I think from Arizona or Texas, and he blathered about how Kamala Harris was the one who helped him, and Donald Trump doesn't care about anybody. Well, there's plenty of videos right now of the
Yeah.
victims' families from illegal immigrants who have come across the border and done horrific things, rape, pillage, and plundered, killed Americans. And so Donald Trump is the one that these families are seeking out. It's not Kamala Harris, because they understand the hypocrisy. Hey, Ryan, let's see. I had a great comment here from my beautiful wife. The teachers union is corrupt. Signed 35-year public school teacher and union member. She says it all. Hey, but this is what we're up against. This is what we're going to continue to be up against. Rent a riot. Folks, they're planning on it. Every piece of this election, they know that they have lost the advantage of manipulating the media, of interfering in elections, and they're still doing it. Believe me, Google is on hyperdrive trying to confuse the minds of so many people. You thought the Hunter Biden laptop thing was something? You ain't seen nothing yet. And it's going to continue to get worse. But the best part about it is, and I appreciate you, Ryan, today, in obviously the not having William J. Kelly on the program, sharing some of the on the street reporting that he's doing up in Chicago. We're hopefully going to get more of that. But this is the stuff we're going to tune into, because there's 70 days until Election Day. Early voting starts here in less than a month in the state of Illinois, as it does in many other states where early voting starts. As I said, you've got to get out. You've got to take 12 people. You've got to inspire 12 people to get to the polls, to pull the ballot for. It's a clear decision. It's either the American way or it's communism. That's what we're voting for. You don't have to vote for Trump or Harris. Vote for the Constitution. Vote for the American way. That is the Trump way. He's the only candidate saying, let's save America. Let's make America great again. And there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, good to have you. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Maybe we'll have MJ Kelly by that time next week, because the convention will be over, ending tonight. So hopefully we'll be able to get that to you, MJ Kelly, live here on the DPB show. But until next Tuesday, I love you guys. I know I appreciate every one of you that joins and listens and shares the content via Facebook, YouTube, Twitter /X, or Rumble. We can't do it without you. Continue to like, share, subscribe. This is the only way we're going to succeed, is to continue to move information. Hey, Ryan, Tuesday, we'll see you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I already said I love you. I love Ryan. I love my wife behind me. But Jesus loves you more. Until next week, I bid you farewell.